While filming the Beverly Hillbillies, Max Baer Jr. managed to keep this information a secret. Max Baer Jr. was well known for his iconic performance as Jethro Bodine on the popular television sitcom The Beverly Hillbillies, which ran from 1962 to 1971. Baer Jr. was born on December 4, 1937, in Oakland, California. Baer Jr., who was the son of the legendary heavyweight boxing champion Max Baer Sr., spent his childhood in the shadow of his father's renown, but he has also established his own distinctive history in the entertainment industry. Baer Jr. became a television star throughout the course of his career, but his life, career, and achievements to the entertainment industry went much beyond his depiction of the dim-witted but endearing Jethro. Baer Jr.'s early life was shaped by the dual strains of athleticism and entertainment. His father was a prominent boxer and an occasional actor, and his uncle Buddy Baer was also involved in boxing and acting. Baer Jr.'s early life was shaped by these dual influences. There is no doubt that Baer Jr.'s road into Hollywood was impacted by his family's involvement in the entertainment industry. After graduating from Christian Brothers High School in Sacramento, California, he went on to earn a degree in business administration from Santa Clara University. However, he ultimately decided that acting was his actual passion. After graduating from college, he started taking acting classes and applying for roles, and he eventually got the role that would become his breakthrough performance on the Beverly Hillbillies. Jethro Bodine, the most well-known character that Baer Jr. ever played, was a person who had lofty goals but lacked sufficient intelligence. During his portrayal of a naive country lad navigating the rich world of Beverly Hills, he captivated audiences with his charming yet hilarious portrayal of the part, which ultimately became famous. Baer Jr.'s performance was a significant factor in the show's rising popularity, which contributed to the show's monumental success. It didn't take long for him to become a household celebrity, and his depiction of Jethro continues to be one of the most memorable comedy characters in the history of television. Baer Jr.'s success in the Beverly Hillbillies, on the other hand, turned out to be a double-edged sword. In spite of his popularity, he was perceived as a hillbilly figure, and he had a difficult time breaking free from the position and finding acting possibilities that were more diverse after the program was canceled. Baer Jr. made the switch to working behind the camera in the years that followed the release of the Beverly Hillbillies. He began working in producing, directing, and writing throughout this time. He co-wrote, produced, and directed the picture Macon County Line, which was released in 1974. This film served as a demonstration of his versatility in the industry. The picture was a surprise hit, and it ended up becoming one of the independent films with the greatest grossing box office receipts of its day. Baer Jr. demonstrated his talent in the art of storytelling and filmmaking during the production of Macon County Line, demonstrating that he was much more than the humorous actor that he had been pigeonholed as initially. Baer Jr. was able to continue working in Hollywood as a result of the popularity of the picture, despite the fact that he continued to struggle with the difficulty of staying away from the Jethro stereotype. During the time that he was filming the legendary television series The Beverly Hillbillies, which aired from 1962 to 1971, Max Baer Jr., who is most remembered for his role as Jethro Bodine on the show, was dealing with a number of personal issues and challenges that he did not openly discuss. Max's real life was far more difficult than the character he represented on TV, despite the fact that his on-screen persona was that of a loving, dim-witted redneck who had aspirations of becoming everything from a brain surgeon to a Hollywood movie star. The battle that Baer had to overcome in order to live up to the huge legacy that his father, Max Baer Sr., had left behind as a heavyweight boxing champion who was known all over the world, was one of the most important parts that Baer kept concealed. Max Sr. was a larger-than-life figure, and his victories in the ring, particularly his knockout victory against Primo Carnera in 1934, solidified his position as a legendary figure in the sport of boxing. However, the terrible death of boxer Frankie Campbell, who passed away after a battle with Baer Sr. in 1009, this occurrence remained a source of remorse for Max Baer Sr. throughout his whole life, and consequently it had a profound impact on his son. Max Baer Jr. spent his childhood in the shadow of this complicated history, and he struggled with the expectations that were placed upon him on a consistent basis. In spite of the fact that he was successful in the Beverly Hillbillies, he was suffering from the burden of not being able to live up to the legendary fame of his father. Throughout the entirety of his professional life, this internal conflict continued to be a source of silent turmoil for him. The growing dissatisfaction that Baer Jr. felt as a result of being typecast was another component of his experience that was concealed during his time on the Beverly Hillbillies. Jethro Bodine became a household name as a result of the show, which gained him popularity. However, the show also pigeonholed him in the Hollywood industry. He discovered that directors and producers only saw him as the goofy and naive country lad, despite the fact that he had the ambition to take on more important roles and grow his career. However, after the conclusion of the Beverly Hillbillies, he had a difficult time finding acting work because many people in the industry refused to look past his portrayal of Jethro from the show. A significant amount of personal dissatisfaction and disappointment with Hollywood was brought about as a result of the lack of opportunities. Although the general public had the impression that Baer was a successful television personality, they were not aware of the limitations that he encountered in his profession or the emotions of stagnation that he struggled with. Another hidden problem was the contrast between the laughter on film and the struggle of being alone in one's own life. On television, he was able to make millions of people laugh with his portrayal of Jethro, but off-screen, he struggled with feelings of solitude over his life. People frequently referred to Baer as Jethro rather than Max Baer Jr., which made it challenging for him to develop true relationships. This is similar to the situation that many actors face when they become connected with a single character. It is the individual. It was difficult for him to build meaningful connections since his personality became so entwined with his character that even in social settings he was expected to perform as the bumbling, humorous hillbilly. This made it difficult for him to form meaningful relationships. Because of the disparity between his on-screen image and the challenges he faced in his actual life, he experienced a sense of alienation that he primarily concealed from others. During his tenure on the Beverly Hillbillies, Baer kept his passion for filmmaking mainly quiet, despite the fact that he had experienced a number of failures in his acting career. He had aspirations of becoming a successful filmmaker. Both directing and producing were seen by him as opportunities to break free from the constraints of typecasting and to show his creative side. In 1974, he finally accomplished this goal by producing and directing the low-budget film Macon County Line, which turned out to be a surprise hit at the box office. Despite the fact that Baer's interest in filmmaking had been developing for years, few people were aware of the fact that he was able to profit on the success of the film thanks to his astute business sense and his understanding of the industry. Baer carefully studied the production process when he was working on the Beverly Hillbillies. He learned as much as he could about directing and producing during his time on the show. Because he was afraid that individuals who only viewed him as Jethro Bodine would disregard him if he revealed his genuine intentions too soon, he chose to keep this aspiration a secret. Moreover, Max Baer Jr. struggled with challenges pertaining to his self-possession and identity, which was yet another facet of his life that remained concealed from the general public. For Baer, the experience of portraying Jethro, a character who is frequently mocked for his lack of intelligence, had an effect on his own sense of self-worth. In spite of the fact that Jethro's lack of knowledge provided audiences with a source of comedic relief, it occasionally undermined Baer's faith in his own capabilities. It was challenging for him to combine his own objectives with the image of the simple-minded hillbilly that the world saw. He was a bright man who wanted to be taken seriously in Hollywood, and it was tough for him to balance his personal desires. Over the course of time, the distinction between Baer Jr. and Jethro became increasingly hazy, leaving Baer with the challenge of establishing his own identity apart from his well-known role. This identity struggle was something that he kept hidden, despite the fact that it was a contributing factor to his subsequent disappointments with Hollywood and the acting industry as a whole. In addition to the difficulties he had in his working life, Baer also exerted a great deal of effort to conceal his private life from the scrutiny of the public. Baer, on the other hand, was more reserved than some of his contemporaries, who were more open to fame and the attention that its presence brought. In his own time, he shunned the party scene in Hollywood since he did not appreciate being in the spotlight outside of his work. However, this need for solitude frequently came into conflict with the public's obsession with the actors and actresses who appeared on the Beverly Hillbillies. Although many people had the impression that Baer was leading a lavish lifestyle in Hollywood, the reality was that he was more reserved and preferred a more subdued daily routine. To the greatest extent possible, he avoided letting the tabloids know about his personal life and relationships, and he took great care to protect his private life from both the media and his followers. The experience that Max Baer Jr. had while filming the Beverly Hillbillies was significantly more complicated than the personality that he represented on television, which was amusing and lighthearted. He was coping with the tremendous burden of his father's legacy, job limits, and personal identity difficulties, all of which stayed hidden from the public eye throughout the length of the program. Behind the chuckles and famous moments, he was dealing with all of these things. In spite of the highs and lows that he experienced throughout his acting career, Baer Jr. was able to pivot and succeed in other areas thanks to his commercial savvy. During the 1980s and 1990s, he shifted his focus to real estate and business projects that were entrepreneurial in nature. Taking advantage of the lasting popularity of the Beverly Hillbillies was his most remarkable endeavor in the commercial world. Based on the show, Baer Jr. intended to establish a chain of hotels, restaurants, and casinos that would all have a Disney motif. His vision demonstrated his profound awareness of how legendary pop culture could be monetized long after the first showing of a show, despite the fact that many of these schemes encountered problems in the legal and financial realms. His efforts demonstrated his desire to remake himself in ways that were not associated with standard acting roles, despite the fact that these endeavors were never fully realized with success. Aside from his professional life, Max Baer Jr.'s personal life has been distinguished by periods of both success and suffering throughout his whole life. He has chosen to live his life away from the spotlight in Hollywood, and as a result, he has maintained a rather private life over the years. Over the course of his life, Baer Jr. has been romantically associated to a number of well-known ladies, thanks to his years spent working in the television industry. During the year 2008, he was confronted with a personal tragedy when his longtime lover, Cheer Rhodes, passed away under unfortunate circumstances. Even in the face of these challenges, Baer Jr. has maintained his resilience and made the decision to devote his later years to pursuing his personal passions as well as his commercial endeavors.